All right. What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Unnamed podcast. Eventually, we'll have a name, but for now, we don't. But it's good to see you, my friends. Today, Zach and I are going to be chatting about how to scale your business to 100K months fast. We figured we would just kind of do a general topic for the very first video because this whole podcast is really going to be about how to scale a high ticket business to 100K months. That's kind of like the central theme of this podcast and what this is going to be. Ideally, we're going to do weekly episodes. We're going to have guests on. Sometimes it's going to be Zach and I chatting a little bit. And the goal here is to help you scale your high ticket business. We specifically, inside of our coaching program Ascend, Zach and I work with coaches, high ticket coaches, online coaches, course creators, info sellers, agency owners, even. Essentially to scale 200K months and beyond. But we've got clients and they're doing all the way up to 250K a month. And we're probably going to blow way past that, especially with some of the crazy people that have been joining recently. But anyway, that's what this podcast is for. So thank you for jumping on for the first time. Zach, say hi.
What up? What up? Welcome, YouTube. Hopefully we can have a pretty good show. Everything's going to be really relaxed. It's going to be good. We're going to be giving really good insight. And I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I put a poll out on my Instagram asking all my followers, hey guys, like what should we name this podcast? And some of the things we got were a little interesting. The first one came out of the gate swinging, called it the Epstein list. That was insane. Definitely not going to name the podcast that, but that was
pretty crazy name.
That was a little wild. The second one was Casting Couch, I think. So that was fun.
That's insane.
Yep. I gotta be careful how much we say on YouTube because we might get censored. Right. The third one I think was Zach and Peyton make a.
Yeah, you insert your creative. Thinking right there.
Heated Rivalry was one, which I didn't tell you about this, Zach, but that was funny because that's a show. Did you know that?
I know. Yeah,
I didn't know that. I thought it was just like they were saying we don't like each other. So I was like, okay, well, we'll fucking duel at high noon then, I guess.
I guess.
and then Caitlin, my wife, was like, that's a show about like these hockey players that like fell in love like they're gay. And I was like, of course it is. Of course.
It's insane. Yeah. But what is the obsession with that right now? I don't understand.
No clue. No clue. And then there was a couple other that were like wedding focused because I have a lot of wedding photographers that follow me. But yeah, so that was fun. Not sure what we're going to name it. I was like,
not that.
Yeah. I was thinking what the first thing that came to my mind was like Marketer Bros, but I don't know. It just seems, I think it's funny if it was ironic, but if it was like a serious thing, it'd be weird.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Almost like Dutch Bros, but worse.
Yeah. I heard y'all went to Dutch Bros and it was a crazy experience. I'm jealous.
I got Dutch Bros,
man. So if you guys don't live in the area of the country where Dutch Bros is, you're missing out. I don't live there, but I am drinking the Starbucks protein coffee.
There you go.
It's real good, dude. Have you had it?
No, I haven't.
It's real good, dude. It's like 27 grams of protein. It's caramel. It's probably high calorie, but I don't care because it's like, 27 grams of protein. Sick.
Right. That's actually crazy. 27 grams of protein coffee. That's wicked.
I know. I tried their the protein, the cold foam. It was terrible. So.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah. So I tried this and I was like, "Ooh, I don't know if it's gonna be good or not, but we'll try it." So
that's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get on topic. So guys, what we're gonna do, since this is the very first episode, we're gonna do like a really, really short kind of backstory, like 30 seconds to a minute for each of us, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of insight on who we are and what we do. So that way you know that we're qualified to speak on the topics that we're going to be speaking about in this podcast. It's super important because there's a lot of scammers out here that are not good to listen to. And then we're going to kind of dive into a little bit about what this episode is about and explain a little bit about what we do. So Zach, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. Just a preface, a little story, just to be as quick as possible. For me, grew up, normal family, everything was good. Moved around a lot, especially after an incident in our family. And then eventually played baseball, loved baseball, especially in high school, played college ball, was actually looking at getting drafted and everything, and then ended up blowing out my shoulder. So as an athlete, that's very difficult to go through because the purpose kind of drives away from that. And then eventually, I found my way into sales. I was actually doing car sales. I know what you're probably thinking, like car salesmen. Are we serious right now? Yeah, I hated them too. So don't worry. That's why I tried to be different than everybody and ended up doing really well because of that. So ended up doing that for a while. And sales really kind of drove me into business because I understood that money can be made based on your effort. And so when I understood that, I started getting into business, started my first business, did about 96K a month in that first business, ironically enough, where I was actually teaching coaches. So it was great. And then the second business I started, I actually paired up with a business partner, and we ended up doing about 250K a month, pretty consistently. Everything was really, really good. And then exited that company. It was great. So everything was really good. That was a really fun experience, a really good learning experience. I was able to learn how to scale a team, how to do everything correctly. And the one big thing with that 250K a month business that we had, I actually never took a single coaching call or anything, sales call, nothing in that entire business. So it was pretty cool. It was pretty crazy how that all ended up working out. But, we had a full team. We had setters, closers, triage callers, everything that you could possibly imagine, fulfillment team, VAs, all of it. And I definitely come from a background to scale a business, to know how to do it, to know how to run it, to know how to hire. There's a lot of skills, a whole lot of skills, but it was great. And now I'm here with Peyton, and we're scaling this business next. So it's going to be fun.
Yes, sir. Super lean too. It's just us right now.
Absolutely.
And then Abby, my social media manager, but that's about it.
Yep.
Yeah. So I didn't know that you didn't take coaching or sales calls in that business.
Not one time from the start or the end.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Wow. Because so the way that we met, let me tell my story and then I'll talk about how we met too.
Sounds good.
So, very similar to Zach, I also grew up, great household, did not have a lot of generational trauma, which is nice. But I grew up I was like, dude, I know I want to be an entrepreneur. Like this whole, school system, working a job till you're 40, whatever, just wasn't I knew there was something more. I wanted to be a rock star because I grew up as a musician and I played drums for 20 something years and guitar and piano and stuff. So I wanted to play in a band, and I did play in a band after high school. But I was 16 and I joined this MLM. And I'm sick, a little bit sick, by the way, guys. So sorry if you hear me sniffling, but I joined this MLM. I forget the name of it, but it was actually one of those pyramid schemes where you sell products and then you get a person underneath you and they get commission, you get their commission. But it was actually courses. They were actually selling online courses back in 2013, before the online education space really blew up. It was really cool. I made a few grand off that as a 16-year-old. And I was like, this is crazy. I had my mom's permission and everything. It was wild. And then I got out of that because the business dissolved because it was a pyramid scheme, they not good. And I still had that taste of business because what they sold was mindset. So I read books like Think and Grow Rich and Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and I think a Tony Robbins book. I don't remember, but it was a long time ago. And I was ingrained in business ownership. I started a drop shipping store, also made a few grand off that when I was 19 years old. And that was cool. Then I went to college for musician or audio recording. I was a drummer and I worked a job for a long time. And then I got into wedding photography. I got really good at ads because I had already done ads previously with the other two things I was doing with the course selling business and then the drop shipping. And I booked a crazy amount of weddings with ads. And then I started teaching ads in a coaching program. That was my first real taste of scale, high ticket scale, called it Full-Time Wedding Pro. And I pretty much helped wedding photographers and filmmakers scale with ads. And we were at 10K a month for 3 years almost. Then I joined a program, Summit from Jeremy Pogue, who I love, still in his mastermind. And I pretty much I had a funnel down, it was a call funnel that I had trial and errored my way through. And then they really helped me with the back end stuff, raising prices, getting the confidence, helping with the team structure. And then the biggest thing was just the confidence of scaling the ad spend and testing. And we scaled, we raised prices, we offered a ascension offer on the front end, which we can talk all about this stuff in this podcast. And then we went from my highest month was 15K, and then we went to 50, and then we went to 70, and then 80, and then I think another month later we were at 125, and then I think maybe I've had 3 months under 100K since then, and that was almost 3 years ago. So it's wild. In fact, the only recent month I had under 100K was December when we were launching Ascend, because I had stopped running ads for the other program and we were getting everything with Ascend because we were trying a whole bunch of different stuff. And we launched the call funnel and immediately went back up to 100K. So I was This is cool. So anyway, that's my story. I met Zach because, well, our wives met. And then we went to Top Golf, and it was so funny because we were both like, I don't want any more friends. Like, we're not gonna like each other. It's just gonna be weird. Nobody's like business like this. And then I remember we were sitting there, and I don't remember who asked it, but we were like, "What do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I got a coaching business," and we were like, "What?" or something like that.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
crazy. It was super crazy. We were like, oh, we both run coaching businesses. Great. And then for the rest of the night, we talked about nothing but business. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so funny. And then you started closing for me and
Yep.
blew it out of the water, like
Yeah.
90% close rate. And I was like, this is crazy. And then not even a year later, now we're working together in Ascend. And it's super cool.
Yeah. Super awesome. Super awesome. Yeah. And just to preface too, I totally forgot to mention this, but whenever we scaled our companies, the time frame, that was super important. So when I scaled my 96K a month company, that one was interesting because my first time like actually doing a coaching business, anything like that, but I was already had sales experience. So I was really good at selling. And I was doing cold DMs, which was crazy.
Yeah.
But my first month I did 28K. And so it was like, wow, this is actually cool and really possible. So I continued to do it. And I got to 96K about a year and a half to 2 years in. So it was really good. Everything was awesome. And then for the 250K a month, that one was fun because we went from 0 to 50K in 2 months. We went from 0 to 100K in less than 6 months. And then we went from 0 to 250 because we hit 100K and then we hit 250, not even 4 months after that. So it was actually insane, but we did it really fast. And a lot of that was just because of the education that we'd had and just knowing how to run a company. That's it. It was really cool.
Yeah. It is crazy. Like it takes so long when you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah,
And then when you finally know what to do, you can start a new business and get to 7 figures like that.
exactly.
You do everything correctly, which is wild. And that's a lesson I had to learn too with Ascend because we were trying a whole bunch of different stuff. And I was like, you know what? Just going to go back to what we know works and then let's
Yep.
just go. And it skyrocketed. So
That's it.
yeah.
Yeah, you just
So-
have to perfect one thing and then do it. That's pretty much it. So it's
Exactly.
great. And I also think like one thing that was big for me was continually investing in education because like I was
Yep.
very serious about that. And I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in education because it's worth it every time. Even when I learned the wrong thing, I learned what not to do. So it's good.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know how much I've spent in courses and mentors and all that stuff just to like, learn. Cause like you have to, we talked about this before, but it's like you have to, if you want to sell something high ticket, you need to be a high ticket buyer. Like
Exactly.
you have to be able to step into that mindset so you know what to provide for people who need to make that decision. It's very
Exactly.
different than a lot of stuff.
I agree. It's a perfect segue into mindset. Speaking of,
Exactly.
we can talk
Real
about
quick,
that a little bit.
before we dive into that stuff. So if you guys are interested in scaling your business, you're ideally, if you're an online coach, you're already making like 5 to 10K a month minimum. But we work with people who are already doing 100K a month coming to us. And you want our help to help you scale with ads, funnels, team structure, sales, everything. Little button in the description. Go to peytonhelm.com/join, watch a video, breaks it down. You can book a call with us. It's not a cheap investment by any means because we're really good at what we do. But if you're not ready, just keep watching and we're going to chat about how to scale your business to 100K a month fast. So let's segue over into the mindset and the psychology behind scaling because that's arguably the most important part.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So if you want, man, preface it with mindset because you were talking about it a little there with mindset and how you should be and everything. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. So we could attack this in a lot of ways. Like I came up very brainwashed basically by reading success books and all that stuff before I even started a coaching program. So like I remember I was really, really, really broke. I was door dashing to like make rent. And I was like, I remember I would have like my phone cut off mid door dashing because I couldn't pay my phone bill and I had to go home and like not make any money. And then I had to like wait. And I was like getting my car declined at drive-throughs and gas stations and stuff, just trying to buy like a drink or whatever. And I, throughout that entire process of me being like dead broke in my early 20s, and not even having a business, I would still listen to podcasts. I loved the Iced Coffee Hour, and other podcasts as well that were success based. Mindset Mentor was huge for me back then too, and then some more in the wedding space. But the most important part there was like, I did not ever lose belief that I would be mega freaking wealthy. Like not once. No matter how many times my card declined or whatever, I was like, I'm going to make it no matter what. This is just temporary. Like I never gave up. And even, 3 years making 10K a month is great. It wasn't all profit, but like going through that coaching business, making that much money, I was like, I'm going to get to 100K a month. I know I can do it. I just need to figure out how. And I never lost faith, never lost belief once.
Yeah.
So I think to preface the hustle and the mindset section of this podcast, like you have to have the irrefutable belief that you will be successful or it will not happen. I've worked with people in both programs, more so the wedding program, that people they get a little flustered. Maybe you try ads, you spend a couple $100s, they don't work. Or you try posting on Instagram and it doesn't immediately give you tons of high ticket clients, right? You get flustered and you're like, this doesn't work. I'm just going to quit. I'm going to try something else. That will kill you. Like that will actually kill you in any kind of high ticket business. You have to know that if somebody is teaching you a strategy and they have done that strategy and they've proven that it works, there is zero reason that it will not work for you because you're not special. Everybody here is essentially the same. As long as you're following everything that people teach you when it comes to scaling a business, it should work if you work hard at it. You have to have that belief, because if you half-ass, I don't know if I can cuss here, if YouTube is going to like, whatever. But anyway, if you half-ass anything, it will not happen. You have to full send everything you do. Everything you do has to be made with 110% effort.
Agree.
We'll talk more about that. But like, I just wanted to really hit hard on the belief side, because if like, even people, they'll pay like 5 or 10K to join a coaching program and they still won't believe that the information inside the program will work. It makes no sense.
Yeah. Even though they just spent 10K. So it obviously works somehow.
Literally. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, you have to have the belief. That's kind of what I wanted to preface with.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can talk about that belief a little bit too, because I think I grew up as an athlete. So belief wasn't really a problem for me, because you have to believe you're special. You have to believe that you're the best. Otherwise, you're not going to perform to the best of your abilities. And so your mind is a very powerful place. It's an extremely powerful place. And if you can believe 100% that you can do what you set out to do, you will do it. Your actions just have to follow. That's it. And that's really, really easy. And if you're already in that mindset and already in that space, you're good. There's so many examples of this, of famous athletes, but like Conor McGregor is a prime example of that. Because everything he said, he believed it and he said it. And then he just did it. That was it. Because it was really easy to do once you believe it, right? And if you keep saying it over and over again to yourself, it's going to be really easy to believe after that, because it becomes the truth, right? Yep. And that's super cool. But one of the most profound things that I heard, especially in my journey coming up in business and everything, was that you will run away from fear a lot faster than you will run towards success. And that's super important, because a lot of people that are listening to this podcast, including me, including probably you, including everybody, you run away really quick from the fear of being broke. Because it sucks. Everything sucks, right? Everything about it is unfortunate. You can't do the things that you want to do. You can't afford the things that you want to afford. You can't help the people that you want to help, right? So you're going to run away from that a lot faster than you will run towards success, because success is cool. But like, if you never touched it before, it's hard to run to.
Yep.
Right. It's really easy to run away from what you fear, because you know it. You live it right now. Right. So always keep that in the back of your head, because that's how you believe. That's how you have that faith to actually do what you need to do, is because you're always looking back and saying, I'm never going back there again, ever, because that sucks. Right. And the more you can do that, the easier it is to set goals, to hit those goals and never look back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I love what you said about Conor too, because it's like I've always lived with this quote in my head that I heard a long time ago, and it was like, you always have to speak life into existence. Like, you could argue like law of attraction, whatever, the universe will deliver what you speak and stuff. I don't necessarily believe that's true. What I believe is that your subconscious brain, your subconscious mind, if you force beliefs into it through repetition and continuous exposure to the right knowledge, and then you speak that knowledge and you commit to it, your brain, your subconscious mind will always look for proof in the universe to confirm your own bias and to confirm your own beliefs. So if I sit here and I say over and over and over again for a year that I'm going to hit 100K a month, I'm going to do it, I'm going to hit it, I'm going to hit it, I'm going to hit it no matter what. Eventually, that will become a true core belief in my subconscious mind. And then instead of my subconscious mind looking at all of the data that we get every day, tens of millions probably of data points every single day that we get into our brains, or instead of our subconscious minds looking for the belief that we won't achieve it, it'll look for the belief that we will. And it'll look for, not the belief, but it'll look for the things that we can do to serve that belief.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
For example, if I approach business with a restrictive mindset, and I have a core belief in my subconscious mind that like advertising does not work, then I will be scrolling Instagram and I'll be honestly probably will have the algorithm trained to me based on all those data points that the algorithms have on us. And I'll probably see a ton of posts that are like, ads don't work, do this, ads don't work, do this. But since I know that ads work, I have the belief that ads work. And now when I see ads, I'm like, ooh, I love that. I can see how that's working. I'm going to apply this to me. Ooh, that's cool. I want to try that. Like, oh, wow, this is a great example of why ads work, right? Yeah. You're reaffirming the belief. And that's not just about business and success. That's why politics are always so insanely emotionally driven, because when people have core beliefs about anything in life, their subconscious mind will look at every data point and only filter out what reaffirms those beliefs. It's one of the most impactful things I've ever learned.
Yeah, 100%. And like your mind is super powerful. So just a really small example of this for a lot of people that you can relate to. If you want, let's just say, for example, you want a BMW M3, right? If you really like the M3, everything's really nice about it. That's all you're going to see on the road.
Yep.
Always. If you want a silver car, you're going to see silver cars all the time, right? Yep. Every time you think of a new car, oh, I really like that, you start to see it everywhere, right? And the reason for that is because you believe that it's cool. You believe that it's awesome. You want it really bad. And so your mind is automatically spotting it all the time.
Yep.
Same thing happens with everything. So you just have to believe. And if you do not believe, especially within what you're going to accomplish within business and all that, you will find every faulty thing possible because you're looking for it, right? If you believe that, you are looking for it. So you'll find why this program doesn't work and why that strategy is bad and why this call funnel didn't really work the right way and blah, 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 instead of figuring out how to solve it.
Yep.
Right? Because you want it so bad that you will solve it. But instead of that, you believe the opposite. And that's why things happen. So a lot of bad things and bad situations happen to people. Some of them pure accidents, all that. But most of the time, you're looking for things like that. And that's really unfortunate. So like you think that your life is terrible and terrible things keep happening, right? Because that's all you're looking at. That's all you're focused on. And when you're only focused on certain things, it's really bad, right? And trust me, I've been there 100 times, right? It's just not worth being there.
Yeah.
Get to the good side. It's great because then you can just look at everything you can do and then you end up doing it and it's phenomenal. And you see all of the opportunities open up of the things you can do once you believe it. And it's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was about to say, I was going to say, if you don't know how to believe, the way that worked for me, instead of just like standing in front of the mirror and saying, I'm going to be rich. I feel like that could work for some people, but for me it wouldn't, because I would just laugh. But for me, it was constant repetition of the same information through podcasts, through books, through courses, that eventually got me to fully believe. So if you're like struggling, like, hey, like, I know this is possible, I just don't think it's going to work for me. For me, it was diving into constant reprogramming of my mind through information. That's what got it for me. But yeah
100%. Yeah. And the thing for me too, just to preface off of that, is like, if somebody can do it, you can do it too. like nobody is special. And so, including you, like a lot of people say, oh, you're not special, whatever the case may be. Neither is the person that's accomplishing it right now.
Yep.
Right. Like I believe we're all special in God's eyes, but that's a totally different thing, right? In general, we are not special when it comes to knowledge and all that. So all of it is accessible. Think about this for one moment. You have a supercomputer in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
You can get every piece of information that you want. Okay? You just have to go look for it. All right. So nobody's special. So if somebody can do it, especially some of the dummies that I've seen on social media and stuff, been able to accomplish the things they've been able to accomplish, You can do it too, 100%. They just believed it. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
But I do want to segment into hustling for a second too, because I think that's super, super important. When it comes to hustling, I think more people need to accept two things when it comes to the very first part of your business. The very first segment of your business is going to be hard. You're figuring out everything. It's going to be tough. You got to work. You have to take all the sales calls. You have to set the appointments. You have to coach the people. Like, you just started a business. Welcome to business, right? And a lot of people don't want that. A lot of people don't want to work, and that's fine. It's not for you. It's not for you. But for the people that it is for, right? You have to work. Like, it's going to be difficult when it comes to the very first portion of your business. You're going to have to hustle. You're going to have to take all the calls. You're going to have to learn new skills. You're going to have to do everything. So keep that in mind, that it is not easy in the beginning. It's really never easy, right? But it's not easy in the beginning, but it will get easy. You just have to keep hustling. You have to work hard. That is super, super important. And I don't think that I need to touch too much on this, because most of you know that you have to work hard to get success. A lot of you guys are working 10 times harder in your job than you would for yourself. That's crazy, right? Jobs ask a lot of you for not very much money, right? And that sucks. So you guys need to be working just as hard, if not harder, on your own business, and you will get the reward for that. But when it comes to actually putting into action and working hard, you really just have to circle back to that belief. That's it. If you believe that you can do it, you will work hard. Putting it in action is super simple, because all you have to do is just do it, right? Nike, you know what I'm saying?
Just do
the
it.
famous words, just do it, right? But when it comes to sales calls, when it comes to all those things, learn the skill, practice, right? If you've never done sales before, practice in the mirror, practice with your family members, right? If you've never coached before, learn how to coach. There is books that you can read.
Yeah,
right?
The Coaching Habit. Amazing,
right? There's so many pieces of information that you can gather to start being fully equipped. And one way I did it, especially when it came to coaching and everything, was I would read a lot about the information of coaching in general. So I would read articles, I would read books, I'd read all this stuff. And then I would go to debate the topic with family or friends. So I'd debate the topic of why coaching was good versus bad and why you need it, right? And debating that topic started to infuse things in my brain that I had read before. That helped a lot. So when it came to coaching and I started coaching, it was really easy because I had all these things embedded in my brain. Same thing with sales, right? You have to practice. Nobody is naturally gifted, in my opinion. I don't think I'm naturally gifted in sales at all. I think I worked hard, and that's it. I practiced. I listened to everything that I was told for sales, right? I understood what I was supposed to do. And then I was just nice to people. That's all you have to really do, right? Be kind to people, be loving to people, actually help them out. You'll be good at sales, especially when you're scaling your business, especially that 5, 10, 15K a month, et cetera. Once you get to 20, just start hiring, which we'll talk about next in the planning. But yeah, hustle is important.
Absolutely. And like the most important thing there is like you need to do more things, but you need to do more of the right things. And like we talked about that before on a call, and I've got content on my Instagram about it. But like so like you're talking about, okay, hustle, but like what do I do? You know, I'm sure that's a big question like a lot of you guys have.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that obviously throughout this podcast and in future podcast episodes, obviously. But what you need to understand, like there's a framework for everything, but there's a framework here specifically where it's like the people who are successful aren't necessarily just doing more than you. They're doing more of the right things than you are. You can do more of the wrong things. Like, for example, if you know you need to make more ads and then you go and try to tweak your VSL, that's doing more of the wrong things. You are wasting time and you're wasting money, because time is money. So if you're in a situation where like you know what you need to do and you're not doing it, that is a fault of you not doing enough of the right things. However, if you're in a situation where you don't know what the right things are to do, then you can also apply this framework and you could say, okay, I need to learn what to do, which in turn is doing more of the right thing. Because at your stage of business, the right thing is to learn what the right things are to do. And then you do more learning, and thus you do more doing. That's how I really look at everything. When I'm like trying to look at like what I need to do in a day, I'm like, okay, what are the right things I need to do? And how can I make sure that I'm doing the most possible? You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. Super accurate.
Yeah.
And that's super, super important, because you have to do the right things. You have to hustle on the right things, all that good stuff. But let's talk about a little bit higher level stuff, because I think most of our audience is already hustling. They're trying to figure it out, all that good stuff. So I want to talk about planning a little bit.
Let's do it.
So typically planning is supposed to happen before you start the business, but like for most of the people that are already starting the business, you guys still have no plan yet, right? And I think somebody that talks about this a lot is Gary Vee, and a couple other people, whoever remembers Gary Vee, right?
Yeah.
He's great. But when it comes to talking about planning, planning is really, really important because you need to know what you're shooting for and you need to plan before. If you haven't planned yet, you need to plan now, right? What are your goals? What are you really trying to accomplish? How can you stop being at 10K for 3 years or 4 years or 5 years? I talked to somebody on a sales call that had been at, I think, like 11K for 8 years.
Oh my gosh.
That's insane,
Yeah.
right? That's way too long. How do you stop that from happening, right? Scaling is not that hard, right? You just have to make a plan and then you have to know what to do, right? So when you make a plan, what's your goal to get to first and foremost, right? What do you want to get to in terms of revenue? Do you want to do 50K a month? Do you want to do 100K a month? Do you want to do 500K a month? Whatever, right? Make your plan. Set that goal first. Once you set that goal, then you have to make sure you're working out of that plan of, okay, how many people do you have to help? How many people do you have to sell? How do you have to do per day or per month or per year to be able to do these things? Break it down. Do the math, because that math will help you accomplish the goal and it'll help you iterate. It will help you work on the right things, right? And then the last piece of that, I would say, is when you're making this plan and you have these goals and you have this schedule calendar of how you're supposed to hit it and what you're supposed to do, then you really need to make sure you're maximizing on not getting burnout, especially when you're hustling, because that's super important. So when do you hire team members? That's something that you should plan out, right? For my second business, we just hired them immediately because we already knew, right? For my first business, it was at 20 to 25K a month. I was hiring a setter because I already knew how to do it, right? I knew what to do. I knew the processes. I knew I could teach these processes. At 25K a month, I'm going to hire a setter, right? Then a little bit further, at 40 to 50K a month, I'm going to hire a closer, right? I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to hire fulfillment. So I'm out of it, right? And I was doing 96K a month with not really doing much. I did some one-to-one calls and that's pretty much it, right? I had all three of those. That was a lean team. When it came to my 250K a month business, we already had that plan in place to already hire the people out because we knew we could get leads, right? Then our first hire, after that, we already had a closer. Excuse me. We already had a coach. We already had a setter. Everything was good. Our first hire after that was a VA. Really, really, really important. I actually recommend this as a first hire for most people, right? A VA is going to help you organize your day. It's going to help burnout, especially at 20K a month, because you're doing so many sales calls, you're doing coaching calls, you're doing everything in between for your business. If you're an agency, you're fulfilling a ton at 20K a month, right? You have so much going on. Get a VA first. Help with that burnout a little bit, right? And then once you preface things, start to hire closers, things like that at certain goals. But if you plan all of this out, you have something to work towards so that you cannot get burnout, right? There's going to be times and days where it really sucks, where you're taking too many sales calls today, or you're coaching too many people, or whatever the case may be, right? But those are only coming in days, and you know those days are numbered because once you get to this number, you're hiring somebody for it. That helps your mindset so much, right? But when it comes to actually getting there and not being at, 10K a month for 8 years, right? It's going to be super, super important that you work on the right things that we just talked about, right? If you have these goals, it helps you work on the right things because you start asking different questions. Okay, well, how do I get to 20K a month so I can hire a setter or a VA, right? How do I do that? I'm at 10K a month right now. What do I need to do to get to 20? Is it more leads? Maybe. Is it more iteration? Probably higher likely, right? You just need to iterate a little bit more and do these things, right? Or is it team members? Maybe you just can't handle the volume that you have right now. Could be. You need to assess these things and see which one it is. So that way you can go towards that plan, move towards that plan, and then hire a setter, hire a VA, hire the things you need. The planning is super, super important. And that's what's going to help you absolutely crush it in business. 100%.
Yeah. I want to dive in deeper a little bit on the plan too, depending on like what stage people are at in in the revenue cycle, because everybody's going to be different. Like what we do in Ascend, part of what we do in Ascend is like figure out where, for coaches specifically, like where are you at and what is the best next step to get to your next goal? Because for some people, it's going to be like, we're not getting enough leads in, or they're low quality, or they're inconsistent. So we're getting a lot and then a little, or we're getting consistent, but they're low quality, or just not at all.
Yeah.
In that case, then like we could talk about that. And then for some people, it's going to be, okay, I'm getting consistent leads, but they're not closing. they're not showing up. So we can talk about that too. A lot of stuff we can talk about because we still got 30 minutes left. And then if you're already at that stage, we're like, okay, we've got clients in, we're getting leads in, they're showing up, they're closing. Then it's like, what's the next bottleneck? Usually team or fulfillment.
Yeah.
So we can just like tackle like one by one if you're cool.
Yeah. Let's do it.
So with the probably most people listening are going to be in the stage where like you're at like maybe the 0 to 10K a month level, maybe like the 10 to 50K a month level for some of you. And then very, very few are already over 100K a month. Just looking at like the demographics of people who usually follow me. So for most of you, the most important part here is going to be getting consistent lead flow. And it's like, okay, how do we do that? Really, there's 3 ways, really 4 ways, but they kind of go under 3 umbrellas. You've got paid acquisition, you've got organic acquisition, and then you've got referral based. So like one obviously is paid advertising, the other is organic content, and third is referrals. That could be referrals from other people like affiliates or connections that you make, or it could be past clients, which is probably going to be the majority. Diving into each one, and Zach, feel free to like cut me off if you want to like, dive into anything here. Let's talk about paid ads first, because that's going to be like a lot of people come to us wanting to learn paid ads, because that's a lot of what we do. So there's a lot of videos on the YouTube channel about paid ads that dives a whole lot deeper than we probably will here. But the most important part here, before we talk about what paid ad strategies are going to be best to hit that like next level, I think it's important to also mention the type of funnel structure that you should run. Because in general, when you're wanting to get leads in, a funnel is the only thing it is how to take a stranger to a buyer, right? That's it. And some people are going to want to do that through an Instagram funnel where you're either getting followers in or messages. Maybe you've got an appointment setter in the DMs, you're booking calls that way. And then you go from there, right? Some people, like me, you want to run like a VSL call funnel. And basically what that consists of is you send people to a landing page with a video on it. They click a button, they book a call, they apply probably. And then you either take the call immediately or you have some steps in between that will increase show up rates, which we can also talk about. Losing my voice a little bit. And then you've got the other more complicated strategies, but still do work a little bit, which are like webinars. Webinars are very popular right now, and low ticket to high ticket is extremely popular right now. But we can probably talk about this in depth. I'm not the biggest fan of low ticket to high ticket. What do you think?
I think low ticket to high ticket is great. I really do. I think it's great. I think it works so well. I think it's way too complex for most people.
Yeah.
Because it requires a different level of systems. It also requires patience. I think the people teaching low ticket to high ticket right now are already in a very established place, so they can add that to their repertoire and then teach it. I think if you're just starting out, low ticket to high ticket is not smart, because you need patience in that game. That game is a long-winded game, and it takes time for people to actually go through your low ticket product, build that trust, do the actual work. If they actually do it, you'll get a little bit lower quality leads because they're spending less money, et cetera, et cetera. And then eventually they will become buyers. There's so much that is you can control, but is outside of your control to convert into a buyer, right?
Yeah.
That is a whole separate level of business for somebody that's new, because not only are you just learning sales, just learning systems, just learning things like this, but now you're starting to integrate in a new strategy and a new system where you have to figure out how to take a buyer that's kind of cold to kind of warm, to figuring out when they actually get really warm, when they want to buy, when they should get warm, when you want them to get warm, how that sales process should look, how you should position it, because they just got a low ticket offer and a bunch of free stuff. So should you position the sales call as a coaching call? How should you do it? There's a whole complex system in there that I think most people aren't ready for.
Yeah.
I think it's great to stack, but not at the beginning.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because we initially tried that with Ascend and it worked. It just didn't work as fast as I wanted it to, because like the problem when you're selling like a 27 or 47 or even like a $97 low ticket offer is like the consumption rate on that offer is typically extremely low. And when it happens delayed.
Yeah.
So you get a low ticket sale, but then if you're either break even or you're losing money on the front end, sometimes you do make money on the front end, but then it's like very little. And then you're waiting weeks to months for that person to ascend into a high ticket offer, even if
Yeah.
you do everything properly. Um, and like I've not only seen this myself, but also people who teach low ticket to high ticket, like they all say this.
Yeah.
So it's not ideal. If you've already got a low ticket product and a high ticket product and you're already selling it, then scale it. Like that's the most important thing I also want to mention is like if you already have a system down, you can scale it. There's no reason to jump ship and try a new funnel. You know,
Exactly.
even though you see like people like me saying like, oh, do like a VSL call funnel or whatever, because it's great. And I love it. But like if you're already making 20, 30K a month with like an Instagram follower funnel, run that, scale it.
Yeah.
You can do that. It's not the best
Exactly.
in my opinion, but like you can scale it and you can get to the next level. I like
Well, you
webinars.
already have proven systems,
Exactly.
right? That's a big thing too, is if you already have a proven system that is already sold for you, there's no reason to start anything new. And,
Yeah.
and this is a super important part. Anybody in the comments, let me know if you're doing a low ticket offer right now and you've successfully done it at 0 to 10K a month or whatever, because that's impressive.
Yeah.
And good on you for learning all of those systems at once. But for the people that already have a successful system, like, and this is where I start to kind of preface a little bit differently. People that are at 10K a month right now or more, you already have a system that's selling, unless it's referrals. If it's referrals, then you still need a consistent traffic system, right? Because that's not really a consistent traffic system. You're somehow getting referrals out of the blue, right? It's
Yeah.
not really controlled. You do need to be in control of as much as you can be, especially in business. So if you're doing organic or if you're doing paid ads already and it's some type of funnel, webinar, whatever, if you're already doing 10K a month, you've proven not only does this offer sell, it sells consistently and can get to 10K a month. What you need to focus on is a lot different than somebody that's just starting. You need to focus on iteration and making sure that you're capitalizing on all the people that you're touching. That's it. Right. And there's a huge difference there. And you can do that in a multitude of different ways, whether it's with VSLs, with webinars, how your webinar pitches, how you're actually getting people to show up to the call, et cetera, et cetera. Right. With low ticket, it's just maybe controlling things a little bit more. Right.
Yeah.
I've ran a low ticket offer before, so I'm very familiar with it, but you have to make sure that you're iterating in the right places, because a lot of people that are doing 10K a month or more, they don't need more leads. They need to know how to direct those leads in the right spot.
Yep.
Right. And that's the big thing, especially if you're doing organic. A lot of people do a lot of organic marketing, and organic is very difficult because it's not that consistent. It's kind of blow up and then not blow up. But when it does blow up, you need to be able to capitalize on those things, right? And if you're not capitalizing on anything and you're only making 10K, that's an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like one last note on like that the problem if the problem is inconsistent leads, we'll kind of like cover one more thing about it, because
Yeah.
I was going to talk a little bit about webinars, but I just think like webinars are good if you can sell one to many. If you can't do that, don't do a webinar. If you've never done it before, don't do a webinar, because you have to be good at maintaining retention on the live webinar. And it's very hard to do, like very
Yes,
hard to do.
it is.
I did webinars, technically webinars, weekly webinars for 3 years with Full Time Wedding Pro in a Facebook group. And I got 20 to 30 people on every single time. No paid marketing, by the way. It was all free marketing, getting people into the Facebook group. And again, I was only doing like 10K a month, right? So I was getting good at it. I'd never done it before. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try it because I saw somebody else doing it and I'm going to do it. So I got good at it. And now I can do a webinar whenever I want and it works great. Like we did a webinar a few months ago and we did like 150K in like a week, you know? So it's, you know, ridiculous. But it's not easy. Like it was a lot of work, we got like 1,700 registrants, only 200 of them show up. It was tough, right? And we just like Dan, one of our members, he ran one and he did like 100K in just over a month. But again, it's a lot of work. So they work, but it's a lot of work. I think the two best funnels for consistent leads that are easy, number one is going to be an Instagram funnel. So that's either going to be rocking follower ads or DM ads. We have a strategy in Ascend that we call Qualifier, and it's essentially a way to run DM ads without just getting all the really, really low quality DMs by sending people to an application first. So that's a strategy that works really, really well. And two, Instagram and or a VSL call funnel. You can combine the two, by the way, but I think that's going to be like the easiest way to get to consistent lead flow. So you can then focus on quality, which is going to be the next lever there. So we can talk about that too.
100%. And like just to preface off of that, business is hard. It is extremely hard. Make it as easy as possible on yourself. With a webinar, you're going to have to learn the skill of sales. You're also going to have to learn the skill of retention. You're also going to have to learn the skill of communicating in a way that's not giving everything away, but also keeping them engaged. You're going to have to learn the skill of storytelling. You're going to have to learn the skill of presenting an offer, especially to a lot of people. All of these things. So you really have to learn a lot of different skills just in that thing, and then still learn the skill of building the business, and then still learn the skill of fulfillment, right? And then still learn the skill of hiring. So when you're stacking all of these different things like a low ticket offer, again, a lot of complexity, there's just no reason to do that. You don't need to do that. That's if you want to and you think you're hot shot, great, go for it, right? But you're just delaying yourself from being super successful.
Yep.
Pick the easiest things and then just look at other people and how they're doing it. If they're doing it really well, look at that and be like, okay, this was really good. The coach that I just bought their program, their whole system was really good. How can I put this in my own version of things and do this for myself? That's it. It's actually super, super easy, right? And the more you start doing that, then all you have to do is be good at sales, right? All you have to do is be good at fulfillment.
Yeah.
And then that's it, right? And then you start hiring team members and all that stuff. And you need to learn how to iterate, because no matter what strategy you do, you're going to have to iterate.
Yep.
You're going to have to fix things, right? You're going to have to see, okay, is my VSL actually getting traction? Where are people falling off? Why are people giving me this objection over and over again, et cetera, et cetera? With webinars, you have to look at a whole plethora of things. Why aren't people showing up? Why are people registering but not actually coming to the call, right? Why are people coming to the call but nobody's actually buying and everybody's broke, right?
Yep.
Why is my webinar not good? Why are people leaving, right? There's so many different iterations on top of the complexity of running one. So make it simple, then start to iterate after that. Business is hard. So the things that we're talking about right now may sound a little bit like, holy crap, there's a lot. There is,
Yep.
right? Welcome to business, right? If you want to be in business, you have to accept that it's going to be hard and then figure out how you can make it easy. That's it.
Exactly. Let's chat about lead quality and then making sure more of the leads actually close.
Yeah.
Because I've got a lot to say here. Do you want to kick it off or you want me?
Yeah, I can kick it off. I'll make it super simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, with making leads quality, I think there's a plethora of different things that you can do. So I come from a sales background, so I have a little bit different opinion on this. I think that almost all leads are quality. And the reason I say that is because I believe everybody can buy, right? Now, I'm not talking about the people that you get a lead from, South Africa, that their money is not the same. I'm not talking about those leads. I'm talking about leads from America. For the most part, everybody can buy something, because the person that you just let off the sales call is going to go buy a coffee, going to buy a new car, going to buy a new house, going to pay rent, going to do all that stuff. So they're already spending thousands of dollars. You just couldn't get it, right? So I do think that every lead is quality. You just have to be able to sell, right? Now there's two different ways you can sell, right? There's a way that you can sell on the call and really, really, really convince people to spend money because it's such a good investment for them to learn. Or you can convince them via your funnels and via your website and actually show them why this is such a good investment. And that just, all that does is solve the quality up front, right? I prefer quality being solved up front, 100%.
Me too.
And I've come from both. I've done both. Selling is fun, but it's hard, especially when you're doing it all in a 45-minute call, trying to earn this person's trust, trying to solve all their issues that they're having, et cetera, right? Doing it up front is so much easier, and you can easily solve all of their problems. I think making somebody quality is answering all their questions. That's it.
Yep.
Answer their questions, be transparent as possible, be kind, be yourself, and show that you are trustworthy. A lot of that really comes down, especially in the VSL, to your tone. If your tone is trustworthy and people like listening to you, it will be so much easier. And there's going to be people that don't like listening to you. That's fine, right? You're also being polarizing in that note just with your tone, right? Some people like you, some people don't like you. That's cool, because the people that are going to like you are going to pay for it. Right. So you just have to really focus on these things and focus on answering their questions, answering their objections up front, making sure that you are taking care of this person and showing that you are the right person for this, with proof, with knowledge, with everything that you have up front. Right. You can do that on a call, but I prefer to do it up front 100%. And I'm going to let Peyton take over here because he's really, really good at doing this.
Yeah. I totally agree. Like, um, you can do one of two things. You can either let everyone through and hit your sales team, or you, if you're taking sales calls, and then try to close from there. And you might be able to get more people who close, but it's going to be way harder, way more time consuming. And if you have a sales team, it's going to be really demoralizing. So I've taken the approach as a marketer. So I'm definitely more of a marketer. You're definitely more of a salesperson. I've taken the approach as a marketer for both businesses to have the quality up front. So like if you guys, if you're a coach and you've watched my Ascend VSL, I'm like, hey, if you're making less than like 5 to 10K a month, this is not for you. Don't apply. And then I also mentioned price kind of in the VSL. I don't like mention a number because the price of Ascend is rapidly changing because we're still in the testing phase. And it's only going up, by the way. We're not going back down. So I didn't want to have to remake the video 1,000 times whenever price changed. So, but I mentioned it's a 4 and 5 figure investment. We have 2 levels of Ascend. And in the application, it's literally a range. It's like, hey, it's this to this. Can you afford it? Yes, no. If you say no, you're kicked out. You can't book a call with us if you can't afford what we do. So like that's the first thing is like we are essentially being transparent with price without actually saying the number. Some people choose to say the number. Some people, I see this a lot too with B2C. Like there's this guy that I follow, and he's a fitness coach, and he literally is like, if you're a man and you make over 150K a year, this is for you. It's like, if you don't make this, you can't join. Like that's his whole thing. And I'm like, I love that, and we're working with a dating coach right now. And we had that approach, but then we were like, you know what, let's shift avatar a little bit to somebody who's a little bit more mature, who can afford something that you charge. So whenever you're trying to figure out, okay, how do we get quality on the front end, and you want to do so through messaging, you need to do basically one of 3 things. Number 1, say the price or give a price range up front in your VSL, in your application, even in your ad if you want to. Number 2, shift your ideal client to somebody who can afford what you charge. And then number 3, which is really not talked about a lot, is specifically mention the pain points that only more affluent people would feel with your offer. Okay. So for example, let's talk about dating for a sec. If you're helping guys get girls, right? Or guys get whatever, right? You're helping guys date. A poor person, the problems there would be like, hey, you can't make it past the first date because you can't afford the date. That's a problem. A rich person would be like, hey, you're struggling with getting gold diggers. See? Yeah. Same problem. They can't get past the first date. Totally 2 different avatars having 2 different problems. Yeah. Right. So speaking to the right problems is going to help a lot in your messaging. And then from there, like we talked about, like you talked about, before they even land on the call, make sure that every question is answered, every objection is overcame. And you could do that through a confirmation page. You could do that through ads, retargeting ads. You could do that through emails. We do all 3 of those. But yeah, that's essentially the biggest way to get qualified leads is like hard qualify with price. Make sure you're speaking to an ideal client type who can actually afford what you charge. And then number 3 is speak to the specific problems that client would have versus a client who can't afford you. That's my 3 biggest things.
Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with verbiage. Yep. Like you were just explaining there. Like if we're, and this is another example of that. Like if we're targeting coaches, right? There's beginner coaches that are going to know, simple terminology like sales, fulfillment, yep. Actually coaching, things like that. But when we start talking about organization charts, SOPs, KPIs, scorecards for your teams, like a lot of that verbiage is going to be geared more towards people that are doing 50K a month, 100K a month, things like that, because It's just different, right? They understand those things because they're at a different level of business, right? They have the same issues for the most part. It's just a different level of business. And it's a different verbiage that they understand because they've been in this game for a while. They've been experienced in this game. They've gotten to high levels in this game. So verbiage is really, really, really important when it comes to your VSLs and everything. And that's something that I've noticed just for the iterations that you and I have done on the VSLs. It's like, okay, we got to do this. We got to do that. We got to do that. We got to change the wording here. Right. And all of the people that we help coach and everything, it's the same thing. So, and that comes down to a lot of iterating. And I know I keep saying that word over and over again, but that's super, super important is once you have consistency in lead flow, once you can get to at least 10K a month and you have leads coming in that are actually buying your offer, you just have to get better at converting more people. That's
Yep.
it. You have leads, you have everything you need. You just have to iterate and convert more people that you're getting in terms of traffic. So if you have, 1,000 people that are coming to your landing page or whatever, and you're only converting 2 of them, right? But you're doing 10K a month, great. You're doing 10K a month, fantastic. But you have 1,000 people clicking on this page. Where are they falling off and why? Those are the type of questions that help you solve things as an entrepreneur, right? And that's what's going to help you really, really gauge where you're at, how to get better, and how to scale further. Because you can do little tweaks like that and go from 10K to 50K.
Yep.
Super easy.
I want to talk about teams, and I'll let you take the lead there because we still got 10 more minutes. I want to wrap up the lead section with just saying this: if you're at like 0 to 10 to 15K a month and you want more leads, I can tell you everything to do in one sentence. Make 35 to 50 ads, run them and test them. No matter where you run them, it could be to your Instagram, to your DMs, to your VSL, doesn't matter. Number 2, 1 to 2 YouTube videos a week, specifically for your ideal clients. Don't focus on views, focus on retention and engagement with your ideal clients. 3, Instagram and TikTok too. Daily stories, 1 to 2 posts per day, ideally reels, carousels work too, story highlights, and then test and iterate everything. Track your data, know what your close rate is, know what your show up rate is, know what your opt-in percentage is, know everything, because if you don't have the numbers, you're flying blind. Pretty much that's everything, right?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Cool.
Yeah, you just need consistent leads. That's pretty much it. So actually do the work.
Yeah. And then obviously too, with your messaging, make sure you're speaking to the right leads. But then as far as volume, like that's what you should do. Time block it out on a weekly basis and run it.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about teams because we only got a few more minutes. So
cool.
What I really wanted to ask you is like, cause you're the team expert here, not me. Cause if it were up to me, I would have no team. I would just have you and like, that'd be great. Cause I don't want to build a large team, but I know it's probably going to be necessary. So on the road to 100K a month, how big of a team do people need while still staying lean, and when should they hire them?
Good question. So let's preface this because on the road to 100K a month, things are going to change at about 80K a month.
Yeah.
Right. So the very first thing that I will say is when you're at 6 figures, the 6-figure core team is going to be very lean and very high leverage. Right. So I like to put this in organization charts and we have this all in the course and everything. But when we talk about 6-figure teams, you have a founder, obviously, which is usually the head coach, the CEO, doing most everything, right? Especially between 0 and 10K a month, and even 0 to 20K a month. Once you start to pass that 15 to 20K a month, you start to hire core people, core essentials, right? For example, assistants. You need a VA because that's going to be super important, and that's going to protect your hours. That's going to protect you from working too much, from burnout, from all that stuff, and take care of a lot of little things. That's super, super important. The second thing that I would recommend is client success. It's going to be very important, right? You need somebody in the actual coaching portion of it to start to take over things so that you're just taking a coaching call and focusing on the front end of sales and everything. Now, once you start getting a little bit higher, past 50K, all that, then you can start hiring for sales, right? I would recommend appointment setters. That's going to be super important. Don't let the sales calls go yet. Just appointment setters because you're not there yet, right? Just hire an appointment setter. I think that's phenomenal. And then lastly, when you get to almost that 80K a month, like 60, 70K, fulfillment coaches, right? That's going to be super important. So that you have a coach and things start to get taken over. That's going to be really important. Now, the only thing you're doing is marketing and sales. And that is when 7 figures starts to hit. So once you get past 80K, which it's $83,300. If you didn't know, you should be doing this math so you know what to hit. But once you get to the 7 figure, the structure changes a little bit, right? You have your CEO and your founder, and what they're going to be doing is focusing on the vision now, focusing on their team now, and focusing on very high level stuff like marketing, right? Because now what you have is all the hires before, plus you start to hire a closer, right? If you're really up there in 7 figures, and I mean really up there, like doing like 600K a month, you can get a COO, right? That's going to be super important as well, because that's going to take over a lot of the operations and make sure that your team is flawlessly running on its own, right? They're in charge of the team now. That's going to be super important. But before we get there, you have salespeople, you have setters, you have all the people that you need. You have a director of client success at this point that's actually directing all of the clients, and directing all of your fulfillment team as well. That's going to be super important. And then you have an ops manager as well, which is like a COO. You can have an ops manager, and then you can have a COO that's over that ops manager. So if you're under $500,000 a month, I would just recommend like an ops manager. That's plenty, right? Because they're going to take, internal work and do projects, fix videos in your course, things of that nature. Now, I know this is really, really advanced for a lot of people probably watching this right now, but it's super, super important, right? Once you get to 7 figures, and especially beyond that 100K a month, this is where you start to look at everything, right? Yep. You start to add a little bit more people, but you're still lean, right? You don't have too many people. You don't have crazy stuff. And it depends on your systems if you do triage calls and whatnot, but that's where it's at, right?
Yep.
And lastly, I would also recommend having like bookkeeping. There's AI that can do this for you. So make sure you have that. I would actually recommend that at 6 figures. You don't have to hire anybody for that, but at 7 figures, I would recommend hiring somebody for that, because it's going to get a little complex. So
Yep.
Especially when you get past 200K a month, you need to hire somebody, because it's a lot of moving parts, a lot of people getting paid, and a lot of money moving. So you want to make sure you have that. And then lastly is 8-figure organization charts, which probably isn't going to pertain to a lot of people watching this right now, but
Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah. 8 figures, you have a little bit more structure. So you have presidents with the COO, things like that. You have a VP of sales that's taking care of the whole sales team and training them on your behalf, things of that nature, right? So teams can get very, very complex and very big as you scale, but they shouldn't get too big too early, right? If you're doing 6 figures right now, and let's say you're doing 20K a month, really the only thing you need is like a setter. You can take care of most everything, because you don't have too many people to take care of. When you get to about 40K a month, 50K a month, you should hire a client success manager or even a coach, right? Because
Yep.
at that point, you need somebody to take over these things, and your VA, if you hired that first, will let you know. They will let you know, and they will say, okay, your hours are getting really thin right now, and I can't budget them anymore, right? So you need to hire somebody for this. And you can just look at their calendar that they're designing for you and be able to see that, right? That's how I've always gauged hiring and everything. And then you have to learn the skills, how to hire, who to hire, and make sure you trust those people, right? Give them, a certain amount of time and allotted time that if they don't perform, you fire them, things of that nature, right? So there's a lot that goes into this, but it is important. And the reason I like hiring teams so much and scaling teams so much is very simple. I don't get burnout. I get to enjoy my time. I get to enjoy what I'm doing. And most importantly, I got into business, and I keep saying this line because it's really important. I got into business not to build a high paying job. I got into business to build an asset that works for me, right? And too many people in this space are not setting it up to work for them. That's why they get burnout. That's why they change offers. That's why they don't do coaching for very long, right? You have to get it to work for you. And all the really successful people, Dan Henry, Sam Ovens, these people, all they do is ads. They don't do anything else, right? They may take some coaching calls every now and then, but it's very expensive, right? Because they value their time, and they've built a system that works on their behalf.
Yep. Love it.
Yeah.
And by the way, we teach all this stuff in detail inside of Ascend. Book a call if you're interested.
We sure do.
That was awesome. I think we can wrap it up now.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I'm excited to do more of these. This was really fun.
Me too. Yeah. It was.
Hopefully
I think it's
this
going
was
to be great
helpful for you guys. If it was, drop a comment, drop a like, drop a subscribe if you want to see more of these, if you enjoyed it. And then I'll probably link our Instagrams too below, so you can learn more about us, follow us, and stay up to date. And we'll make more of these and put them out ASAP. So
yeah, please drop a like and subscribe. That's super important. We want to grow this channel. We want to give as much information as possible, especially in the coaching space, because there just isn't really a lot, especially good information, right? So if you could do that, support the channel, that'd be amazing.
Yes. And please give us name ideas.
Yes.
We don't All right.
Sweet.
All right. Thank you guys. Go watch the next video. Adios.
Peace.